Welcome to The Stacks, a podcast about books and the people who read them. I'm your host, Tracy Thomas, and today we are joined once again by our actor and author friend, Jay Ellis. Jay is here to help me discuss the Stacks book club pick of Master Slave, Husband, Wife by Ilyon Wu. This book is an incredibly thorough and engaging masterwork of nonfiction. It won the Pulitzer this year for biography, and it tells the true story of William and Ellen Craft, a married enslaved couple who escaped north from 1848 Georgia to freedom by pretending to be a white slave master and his manservant. The book covers the kinds of hurdles and opposition they encounter along their way, plus their experiences in the North dealing with all sorts of different abolitionists. In addition to talking about the plot of this book, Jay and I also talked about the ways sexism and colorism show up in this story, how little history we learned as kids, and so much more. Please note there are some minor spoilers on this episode. Make sure to listen through to the end of this episode to find out what our September book club pick will be. Quick reminder, everything we talk about on each episode of The Stacks can be found in the link in the show notes. And if you love this show and you want inside access to it, head to patreon.com/thestacks and join the Stacks Pack. It is just $5 a month and you get to be part of the best bookish community that has ever existed in the history of books. That is a fact that has not been fact checked, but it is a feeling. More than anything, you get to come to our monthly virtual book club meetups. You get to be part of our Discord community. You get bonus episodes. And you also get to know that by joining the Stacks Pack for just $5 a month, you make it possible for me to make this show every single week. Another fun perk of the Stacks Pack is that you get a shout out on this very podcast. So thank you to Kelly Atzbach, Lindsay Thomas, Jennifer Odom, Elaine Wu, Elizabeth Miller, Shelley Kinsey, Sarah Kozlowski, and C. Nezrak. And for those of you listening now who love the show, who want to support my work, but don't really want to be part of a community and have to go to a virtual book club and all that stuff, you can support the work of the show. Find out what's going on, what I've got coming up in the works, what I'm into pop culture-wise, if you go to my newsletter at tracythomas.substack.com and subscribe. It goes straight to your inbox, no community necessary. Thank you so much to everyone who makes this show possible. Okay, now it is time for my conversation with Jay Ellis about Master Slave, Husband, Wife by Ilyon Wu. Reminder, there are minor spoilers on this episode. All right, everybody, it is the Stacks Book Club Day. I'm so excited. I am joined again by author, actor, all-around stand-up human being, Jay Ellis. Welcome back to the Stacks.
Thank you so much for having me. I love being an all-around, what did you say? Amazing human being?
Stand-up human, I think.
Human. I love it.
Yeah, we love a stand-up. It's an illustrious guest. It's the same vibe, you know. Got to come up with a different way of saying people are wonderful because I only have wonderful people here. That's not true. I've had some duds. You're not one. Okay, we're doing book club. We're talking about Master Slave, Husband, Wife, An Epic Journey from Slavery to Freedom by Ilyon Wu, which was the 2024 Co-Pulitzer Prize winner in biography. It won alongside King by Jonathan Eig. Eig. I don't know.
Eig.
Gonna have to ask him one day. Eig. I'm gonna go with Eig, but
I think so.
It's not easy. It's not easy, and it's not 100% on that. Okay, before we even dive in, I'm gonna give a quick synopsis for people listening to this episode. This is a nonfiction book. It is history that took place starting in 1848. However, it's sort of a forgotten history. So there will be spoilers to this story on this episode, but also the information is in the world. It happened a long time ago. So don't fight me. Okay, so it's the story of Ellen and William Craft, who are two people who are enslaved in Macon, Georgia, and they are a married couple. They decide this is not the life we want because slavery is hell. And they decide to escape to the North. Ellen is half black, half white by rape from her father, who raped her mother, who was enslaved. He is her previous owner. She's currently owned by her half-sister. She flees with William. She is disguised as a young gentleman, an ill young gentleman. Yep. They take the train. Oh, and he is
the caretaker,
pretending to be her slave. So that hence, now we've already got master slave and husband wife. Spoiler, that's the book. They go by foot, they go by train, they go by carriage, they go by boat. They make their way all the way north to Philadelphia. Guess what? It's not safe there either.
Still ain't free.
They go to Boston. Boston, they're free-ish. But for those of you who know your history, you might be familiar with the Fugitive Slave Act, which means anybody can go up to any black person and say, "You're my slave.
You're my slave.
Back
Let's
down
go."
you go."
Yeah.
Let me take you back down south. So then eventually they decide still not safe. There's some historical drama that happens. They're still not safe come 1850. They leave again. They go north, they go to Canada, and then they go to England. And along the way, they make a bunch of abolitionist friends. It's really a who's who of 1848 to 1865 political leaders. So that's basically the premise of the book. We always start here, which is just sort of generally, what did you think of the book, Jay?
I found myself feeling, for lack of a better phrase, dumb because I didn't know this story. I found myself, to be honest, like inspired in some ways by like their like ingenuity. Like there's just so many things. First of all, this man saved money to then buy clothes, to then play these characters.
Right.
There was just so many things. There's also these moments of like, there's moments of like, I feel like there were times where like my heartbeat would be like pounding. Like, are they going to get caught? Like Philadelphia, I think is such a great example of that story. Like, are they going to, the first time they get on the train and somebody recognizes her.
Yes.
And she plays deaf. Like there were so many moments where I was like, oh my God, is this where they get caught? Like what would happen? And then what happened from here? And anyway, to have not known this story and have been introduced to this story in this way and have gotten a chance to read about it and now go do my own digging. I love this book. I feel like this is something that should be taught in history.
Yes. Okay. I agree with everything you've said. I want to come back to why we don't know this story, like why this story was lost history, because I have some questions about that. But overall, really impressed with the book.
Yeah.
Like the level of research and detail and the way that she takes it and then turns it into narrative. So it does feel like pulse pounding, like what's going to happen when there's a whole totally different version of this book that is like in 1848.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like stale. I do wish a little bit that the author had contextualized some like historical opinions. Like I wanted her to go like a little deeper on like some of the colorism stuff because it's obviously so at play in the book, but she doesn't like fully dig in. And I just was like, there were moments where I was like, what would a regular person think about this thing? Like, so there was a little bit of parts where I was just like, I want you to tell me more. Like, I know because you're an academic. Like, help me figure out what I'm supposed to think. I wanted the answers. And I definitely think the escape part in the beginning was my favorite part. Like the first third of the book is so good. And then the middle third I liked a lot because I liked hearing about the different arguments around abolition and like the different politicians. And then the third part was my least favorite. I was a little bored in Europe, I have to be honest.
Let them have their life.
But I was like, I'm tired of them going around with Williams Wells Brown. I'm like, okay, like this trio, I don't know. It's not master slave, husband, wife, and friend. Yeah, and the other William.
The other William. And with William too. I will say I agree with you. I think the escape was crazy.
Crazy.
The middle section for me is actually really interesting. Like the middle of the book for me is actually really interesting because they become celebrities, right?
Yeah.
Like they become celebrities, but technically they're still on the run. But so like there's this very interesting thing of like, there's that story which actually happens in Boston, wildly enough, where like the community puts arms around them. I think it was in Boston where that's happened. And the community puts arms around them and they're like, no, we're saving them. Like, no, we're keeping them here. I think that was in Boston. Maybe it was in Philly. I think it was when they got to Boston, right?
It was Boston.
Yeah. Oh, yes, because the slave owner had sent someone to go get them. And so I don't know. I just even thinking of like a community of people, even at this time with this act out there deciding that they were going to put their arms like around this couple and say like, no, they are free. We are going to hide them and save them. And then from there, them obviously realizing that like they would never technically be safe. They still needed to leave, which is ultimately what sent them to Europe. I don't know. That middle section to me was really interesting too. I think the colorism thing is also this really great conversation that you're right. Like, what did that mean for him?
Okay, let's talk about this. I was going to talk about this later, but I want to talk about, we will come back to the beginning of the book, but I really want to talk about the way that Ellen and William are portrayed to us through the author. Because there are so many times where like she will say like, William took credit for the escape, but maybe it was actually Ellen. Right. And I'm like, well, why are you saying that? Why are you saying maybe it was Ellen if all the documentation that you have is saying that it's William? Is it because William is like a darker skinned Black person? Right. And like, there's so many, I'm not suggesting that the author feels that way, but I'm just suggesting that like the text that she's relying on is clearly giving her a sense that William wasn't smart enough. Like, and there's a part where the Etzlin family that they're with in England refers to him as like crass and like a showman. And everybody loves Ellen the most. And Ellen's always ranked the highest. And Ellen is so funny. And Ellen is so smart. And then it's just like, and Ellen is so beautiful. Oh my God, Ellen is so beautiful, you guys. Yeah. She's so beautiful. Right. How could anyone think this she's like one of us. Like the conversation around Ellen versus the way that William is there's even a part where at the end where they're like, Ellen and William Wells Brown like might have been having an affair. And it's just like, but the other William is an idiot. Like, and I'm like, but wait, maybe other William is like a cool dude. Right. And like, maybe Ellen is having an affair. Right. Like maybe
two things can exist. Right.
Yeah, Ellen can be so beautiful and so perfect. And also, maybe she betrayed their marriage. Yeah. You like, I just did you feel that too? Like there would be these moments where Ellen like gets so much generosity and like anytime anything's said about William, it's like, William.
It's him. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. You know what it made me think of, and this is a bit tangential, so just go with me for a second, but it made me think of the story of Bass Reeves and how like Bass Reeves ultimately got portrayed as the Lone Ranger because there is no way in the world that this Black man could have done those things. You know what I mean? It's easier to believe and make up this character. It's easier to believe that he arrested 2,700 people or 50 people at one time or whatever it is. It's easier to believe it if you do one of two things. You either make him magical or, you change him and you change his race. And I think like that is the story of Bass Reeves, which we know is like the inspiration for the Lone Ranger. And I think when you look at the history and the stories that are told about Bass Reeves, it's always in this way of like, you have to, he's so magical. He's so superhuman because there's no way that he could do it unless he's that, right? But the people that are telling us those stories don't look like him. So right. And I think that to your point, the historical texts of the time that are being used for the research in this book are written by people who don't look like William. And it's easier to accept or allow, I think, Ellen, to your point, to have the glory, to be so beautiful, to be so elegant, to be all of the things in that time. But I totally picked up on that.
It's so interesting because even when there's moments where it's like the contemporaneous text says William takes credit for the plan, we still get paragraphs that it's like, but was it really William?
Right.
And I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, if you're telling me all this other stuff from this text, then I have to assume if I'm going to believe all of that, then shouldn't I also believe that William came up with this plan? And I do think like, I think, part of it is that like the story changes throughout time. And in the beginning, it's both of them. And then later it's just William. And, you know how that is. Yeah. Like the stories change in life. Like if you're telling a story and depending on the audience and it all changes. But I just found that part really interesting and how it's always like, oh, Ellen was so quick on her feet. And it's like, well, William was right there too. Like William was helping making these things happen too. Yeah. And I found that really interesting because it also makes me think like, if the roles, I guess not exactly, but like if it was possible for Ellen to have been darker skinned and still pulled this off, would we think like her witty little jokes, would she still get to be considered like so witty and so funny? Or would it be like she's rude? Like she's a bitch. Like she's a Black woman who doesn't know her place and she's making like, I can't. And I think also like I was reading this over the last week and we're recording this at the beginning of August. And it's like now Kamala Harris is the nominee. And like when we recorded the first episode with you, Joe Biden was still our nominee. Like there's so much I mean, you've become a dad to a second parent. Like there's your book has come out. So much has changed since we last talked.
A lot has changed.
But like even just the framing of someone like Ellen and just thinking about her getting to have those moments where she said, it's like, oh, someone's like, oh, would slaves know what to do with themselves? Would they be able to take care of themselves if they didn't have their masters? And she's like, well, they take care of themselves and their masters. So I'm pretty sure they'd be fine on their own. And like a line like that is so funny and cute at the time. And everyone's like, ha ha ha. But I'm like, if she looked darker, is that funny and cute? Or is that she's got a bad attitude?
You know what I think is really interesting too is like when you think about this time, I think the thing that we have to be able to give so much credit to both of these people for, regardless of whose idea it was, is that they both had to be all in at all times.
Right.
No one got to take a day off. Neither one of them got to take a day off. They both had to be all in at all times, which means they're both as equally important to this journey, to this freedom, to this story, to becoming the, celebrities, if you will, that they became. You right? They're both equally important to it because they both had to be in at all times. Because if one of them betrayed it at any moment, it put the other one at risk as well.
Right. Yes. And yes, 1,000% that. The other thing, just like, because I want to go back to the beginning of the story, but the other thing about the colorism thing is like, in the book, there's inserts of pictures of the people, and some of them are drawings, some of them are photographs. But at this time, and she mentions this in the book, at this time, Ellen's one of the first women abolitionists to take the stage. It's like pre-Harriet Tubman, who becomes a huge star on the stage. But all of the men who are really focused on William Wells Brown, Frederick Douglass, and then Ellen are all lighter skinned, mixed, mulatto as the language of the time people. And they're all like the beloved, so I think there is something to this, like these white audiences that are hearing this, or these abolitionist audiences, many of which are Quaker, many of them are white, though the book does mention that it's like a very diverse group of people, that there is something to like needing to have some white in them to like be heard or seen. Yes. Perhaps at this time. I don't know if that's true, but that's a little bit of just like looking at the pictures. I was like, oh, all these Purvis is also extremely fair skinned. He looks basically white. So I thought that was really interesting. Like, even though we're saying like Black Lives Matter in this time in our own way, we're also like, but we want to hear it from the people who we know whose dads raped their moms. Like we want to hear it from the people that we know are like at least somewhat connected to us. So I guess I want to go back to the beginning. And I think, dads raping moms is a great place to start. Were you taught slavery in school?
Oh my God.
I know you went to a lot of schools.
We were taught slavery in school. I remember watching Roots in school. I remember being one of two Black kids in a class watching Roots in school and how uncomfortable that was. Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
Yes. Wildly uncomfortable. But yeah, no, we were taught slavery in school. Yeah.
Okay. As was I. How much of the information about what day-to-day life was like for enslaved people felt new to you in this book?
Oh, I felt like I learned a lot in this book, or I was being exposed to a lot of new stuff in this book.
New. So much new. Okay, same. Because I was like
even the fact that he was a cabinet maker, I was like, oh, you had a specialized thing. Like, even that was like, you know what I mean? Like the fact that, but yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No. I just was curious because nowadays we talk about like, oh, how kids like aren't going to learn anything about slavery because it makes the white kids uncomfortable. And there's this whole debate about what, and I'm like, okay, well, I was taught like about slavery in school, but even what we were taught, like even what the prevailing narratives are so like high level. Like on page 34, she goes through and talks about the pricing of different people.
Yes.
And I didn't learn about that. I learned about that prior to this book only because we did Beloved on this podcast. And my guest was another historian poet. And she was talking about the price of enslaved people and how like a young woman pre-childbearing age was the most expensive slave to purchase. You would think it would be like a strong young man. Nope. She's like a 12-year-old girl who's like maybe had
Never
one
had a
kid or a
kid.
few kids
Oh, right,
or had
right.
no kids. Yeah. Like that is return on investment type.
Right.
And I was
Right.
like, just thinking about like, we're not taught about like the economics of slavery or like that you could take out a mortgage on a person. I didn't know you could do that.
I don't think I knew that. I think I definitely knew like the value system, if you will, but I don't think I knew. I mean, because you know when you think about it, like that young woman is going to give you more children to ultimately do
as
work
soon as you
for
think about it, it makes total sense. But like, I don't ever remember like ever thinking about how human beings would be priced in a real way. Like I felt like in school, I was like, they sold them.
Yeah.
But of course, they
Yeah.
had different prices. Like, of
Right,
course,
right.
some humans were more valuable than others,
Which is
because what they
crazy.
could provide, which is crazy.
Crazy.
Or like, she casually mentions in this book that December is prime buying and selling season. And I really wanted to know more about that. Why? Why is it December?
Yeah.
What is it about? Just is it like, oh, we got to like clear the books before the new year starts, before like the new fiscal year? Like, I just really wanted to know.
That's just a great question. I wonder why. I mean, I wonder if it's like the harshness of winter, maybe. I mean, but they're in the South.
Like,
so
or maybe
winters
is it
aren't that harsh.
because maybe you want to like get people like, this is so crazy. You want to onboard them so that when planting season comes around in the spring,
ready
they're
to
already
go.
situated.
They're ready to go. They know
ready
what
to
the deal
till
is.
the land. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I was sitting there after I read that line, like for like 5 minutes being like, what are the reasons this could be true? But like, just like little things like that. Like, of course, in any economy, there's going to be like a busy season, but I had never even stopped to really consider stuff like that. And this
We're also
book
not
made
talking
me
about like
think.
a machine that goes forever, right? You're talking about people who die off, who run away, who you sell off. So you also needing to replenish that workforce.
Yeah.
So
all the time. Yeah. And then also like, you know, something that I have thought about a lot, because I am, not only am I mixed, like my dad is black and my mom is white, but my dad is from New Orleans. So we're Creole, which is like an inherently mixed group of people. So I think a lot about colorism and color and also the interpersonal relationships on plantations between masters and the people that they enslave, and also what that means for those children and like the family relationships. But this book really brought that to the front. I mean, Ellen and Eliza.
It's really crazy, right? Like her half sister.
Yeah. And like they talk about how she looks dead ass on the dad.
So crazy. Do you think that like, I just wonder what conversations were like. You know what I mean? Like, what is Monday through Friday like at the dinner table? Or
well, she's not at the dinner table.
She's not at the dinner table. Yeah, she's not at the dinner table. But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like when she's like doing up her hairdo, is she like, you know how dad is?
Like it's
dad is
such
so
a
annoying
crazy
this week.
thing to think that like, and also like, I mean, you're enslaved. So some of you obviously wishes you had that freedom to be in that house. But then also like, what is that feeling of like anger or disgust inside while you're having to like do your half sister's hair? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't know. It's just such a crazy thing to think about the layers of that and like what a mind fuck. You know what I mean?
And like they talk about how like Ellen's our favorite. She's like one of our best. She's our beloved. And I'm just like, you own your sister. Like that is so fucking crazy.
Weird. It's insane.
And like there's so many parts of like the actual human part of what happened during chattel slavery, that the way that it's taught in school, the way that it's even portrayed in like film and television, divorces the actual human feelings
100%.
from the stuff. Like even in a movie like 12 Years a Slave and like the scenes with Lupita Nyong'o where you're like, these are so brutal. It's still hard for me to comprehend. But reading this book, there were so much, like the different stories, like William's sister being sold off.
Right.
And like that scene. And then there's another guy whose wife is pregnant and is sold off, and he walks 4 miles along with the chain gang.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's because I'm a parent now and I think about these things differently than maybe I did when I was like 16 or whatever, learning about it. But like this book really drove home to me how fucking unreal, evil. Like you can just buy a person and mortgage a person and say you're a Christian and then just send them away. A 9-year-old girl, you're just taking a 9-year-old girl from her mom to go work for your daughter. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
You know what I think it is too? I wonder if it's like, because at that age, to your point, I wonder if it's like at that younger age, it's so hard for us to, you haven't had enough life experience. You are learning about this at a very young age, but like you haven't had enough life experience. Your experience is probably with your parents or with a guardian, but you haven't had, I don't know, there's something that you just said that just made me think about like when you have kids, and maybe that's the thing that kind of puts it all into a different perspective, because now you're talking about the person you've chose to spend your life with. You're talking about your children. You're talking about this thing being ripped apart and sold and mortgaged and raped and pillaged and beaten and all those things. But like you, as a kid, even when we learned that stuff, and you're right, like there is the humanity element of it, the emotional element of it is fully sanitized. But like, I wonder if it's like also that we may not have enough life to connect to it.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I do think there is something about being a parent where you're like, whoa. Like it does hit you in a bit of a different way than when we're young. And maybe it's the way that it's taught to us when we're young, because we're not getting all the information that we should be getting.
Right. I think that definitely has to do with it too. Like we're not taught some of this stuff by design, right? Like it's like we have to protect children, but also like it doesn't make America look good, right? Like it is not a good look to be a country who continued this decades after other people were like either forced to stop doing it or chose to stop doing it for whatever moral reasons. Like not only did we not stop not only did it take us longer, but we did not stop until there was a literal war over it. Like
it still didn't stop in some places.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, then you go back to teach this history and it's like, okay, how can we make this like work the best? But I also think I think part of it for me was becoming a parent, but I also think you're right. Like, it's just like life experience. Like, I think when you experience like, some kids do experience loss at a very young age, and maybe, they are able to understand this in a different way than I could, like in the space that I was when I was learning about slavery. But I think also it's experiencing loss and being like, okay, for me, my dad passed away when I was 25, and that was really, really sad. So now when I think about someone's family member getting taken away, I'm like, that was very sad for me and was nothing compared to what if this had happened to me when I would like, it's like I've had a life experience that I can relate to this thing. And I know that what I experienced was like 0.0000% of what it must have been like to be a person that was owned by other people, that was physically punished, that was their whole life was arbitrary at the whims of whoever was in the home that they lived. And then if they got sold, their whole life changed based on the new person and their personality. And like to lose a family member or a sibling, or just even like just a place that you call home. Just to be told this isn't your home anymore. You don't live
there's
here.
There's also something interesting. There's something interesting you just said, but like by not going into it a little deeper and at another level, it also kind of leaves us to just believe that slaves were dumb and uneducated.
Yes.
And like the reality of it is like the life experience that they had. And by the way, they are the Farmer's Almanac.
Right.
They are the farmer's almanac. You know what I mean? Like, right. So like, right. I think it's also this.
And
really
they're the architects, all those beautiful plantation homes that you love so much and want to get married at, folks.
They're building them.
Who do you think built those? Who do you think designed those? Who do you think came up with the way, not just the actual building, but like they knew the techniques. They were master artistry. Like William is a cabinet maker.
Is a cabinet maker. Yeah. And I think
like, do you know how much cabinets cost?
There's something that's really interesting about that because it makes you believe truly that in some way they were being saved. You know what I mean?
Or that they were okay with it. Like it was like an okay deal.
Yeah. But the reality is they had to be so much smarter than what we could ever even imagine in order for the economy of the South to do what it did.
And the economy of the South really was the economy of the whole country because, I mean, she talks about it in the book, but it's like, this guy from Boston, he had the loom.
Yeah.
So like, what's all the cotton going to do you if you can't turn it into something, right? And like, we know how much the economy, like we know how much the North tried to scapegoat the South on a lot of this stuff, and like how slavery was not just a Southern thing, but like but a entire country thing. But I do think you're right that it's like, it makes it seem like the people who were enslaved were at least complicit, or like not complicit, but they were like okay with it. Like it was like, not a great deal, but it's fine. And then you read a book like this and it's like on every page, someone is trying to escape. On every page, people are, resisting and just fucking shit up just a little bit, like just making things difficult. And like, I think that's the thing that like I realized as I got older was like, okay, Black Americans, Black people, and I'm sure this happened obviously in other places. We know Haiti had a revolt years and years before we did, but that like Black people who were enslaved were not liking it at all. Like we're taught that it was like, chilling. We're taught like this is just the way of the land, but like that is not how it felt in the time. People like, that's why the enslavers had so many laws, like all of this. Right. They were freaked the fuck out. They're so like, we're outnumbered and these people hate it here. Yeah. We're outnumbered. These people hate it here. And we need them to be like, we will do anything we can to make their lives more difficult and punish them in the hopes that we can maintain this. But by the time it gets taught in schools, it's like, this was the economy and like, not great, but also like,
you got a place to stay.
Eli Whitney.
You get Sundays
we love
off.
An invention. Yeah, exactly. They love church. You wouldn't have like oxtails if it weren't for this. So congratulations. Okay, let's take a quick break and then we're going to come back. Valentine's Day is upon us and I've got love on the brain. Love for books. Duh, of course. Hello. Did you forget what podcast you're listening to? I love bringing you all great reads, exclusive author interviews, and behind the scenes book gossip. But I can only do that with your support over on Patreon and Substack. Our Stacks Patreon community, also known as the Stacks Pack, is where you can go for book club meetups, a private, very active Discord, and a year-long mega reading challenge to help you achieve all your reading goals. Plus, you also get that monthly bonus episode. Now, over on the Substack, you can subscribe to my newsletter, Unstacked, where I keep the book conversations going. I also give you a healthy dose of sports and pop culture, definitely some hot takes happening over there. And again, that bonus episode. If you don't have a few dollars to spare, don't worry. There are free options on the Substack and the Patreon to get you a little extra Stacks magic. Making this podcast is a total team effort, and by supporting my Patreon and my Substack, you allow me to support my amazing team that makes the show possible every single week. So if you or your friends are looking to meet other book lovers and support this indie podcast, come hang out with me on Patreon, Substack, or both. I would love to have you. And since we're talking about love, you can gift subscriptions to the Patreon and the Substack for that special reader in your life. For the Stacks Pack, head to patreon.com/thestacks. And for the newsletter, head to tracythomas.substack.com. And also, there are links to both in the show notes. Okay, see you in the Stacks. Okay, we're back. Let's talk a little bit about The Escape. Speaking of Black folks not wanting to be enslaved, being way smarter than everybody else. This plan is fucking brilliant.
Brilliant. Again, once again, we're talking about whoever came up with the plan. They came up with the plan.
I think they came up with it together, personally. I have a hard time believing that William was like, here's the plan, or Ellen was like, this is what you're going to do.
Well, because also you need somebody, because they split up, right? So you need somebody who's going to go through with their part. You need to know that this person is going to go through with their part.
And you're not going to do someone else's plan if you haven't felt signed off. This is your literal life on the line. Yes. Both of your lives on the line. Because you know, if you get caught, I mean, William says, I'm going to kill. It's death or freedom. Right. Like, he's got the gun. He's like, mm-mm. But if you get caught and you go back, no. I mean, no, thank you.
Not at all.
No, thank you. Not at that point.
Okay, so this plan is absolutely amazing. I love the fact that William was smart enough to pick up the hair and take it with him after he cut it. So like there was no signs that, like, you know what I mean? And now she looks at herself and she's like, oh, I'm a sick little white boy. You know, like, it's just like, this is crazy.
And that they played on the like fantasy of like young white boy goes off with his slightly older and wiser slave, like to see the world, and the slave will teach it. Like, I love that this is like this made up idea of like in the Southern world, and they were like, let's fucking do that bullshit that they think like we're besties. And like that she was like, okay, well, I don't have facial hair, so I probably need some like poultices or whatever. Like, I need some like bandages on my face, and like I'm terrified, so like glasses feel like a good. Like, it was just, there's a line where the author says like they were able to pull this off because they were both creative people and they were able to visualize the whole plan, and I felt really seen. By that. I was like, because that's how I work. I'm like, okay, I have an idea, and now I have to sit down and literally plan it out all the way to the end and think about all the possible things that could go wrong. I usually just call this anxiety, but apparently it's also a winning strategy.
It's also vision. You have vision. They had vision. So wild. I was just going to say, I also love this thing of like her being in her enslaver's clothes. Yes. You know, like there's just so many things that were like just well thought out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't, again, this goes back to your point. Like, it wasn't hers. It wasn't his. It had to be theirs, because somebody had to be like, but what if? Yeah. And then what? And what are you going to say? And what are you going to wear? Like, someone had to constantly be poking holes in each other. Like, they had to build this thing together, especially for them to like then meet at the train hours later and not know if the other one was going to be there. Even
be on there. I know. And like, I think what's interesting about their story, because they're both sort of skilled, air quotes, skilled laborers, or I guess it's not air quotes, but they're skilled laborers. She, you know, works by the side of her mistress / sister, and also is like a above average seamstress, and he's a cabinet maker. And so both of their work puts them in very close proximity to white people. And I think that was really important for their plan as well. Yeah. Like, that they both had to know and understand who they were up against. And like, she knew in the moment when the guy sits down that she had served dinner the night before, like, I got to just be deaf. Like, he will know. And like, then later on, she was like, I got to stand my ground, because like, I'm not going to get, like, they would not accept me getting bitched around here. And like, I just thought that stuff of like, you know, we talk about this a lot in writing of like, men can't write women because men don't see women fully, but women can write men. Or like, Black people can write white people because we know and understand the oppressor in a way that like, it would be probably very hard for a white person at this time to like disguise himself as Black, because they just don't see them. But when you're observing the people, your tormentors, you see every little thing. And I just love that, like, that played to their advantage.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, because you just brought up something that again, like, to have the ability to pivot and play deaf. You know what I mean? Like, to have, like, in a moment you pivot, you're like, oh, I see him. He might see me. What do I do here? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that is not... That's not the thought that runs through people's minds. Like, that's not the average thought, like, oh, I don't want to talk to somebody, I'm just going to play deaf. Like, that's not the average thought that runs through somebody's mind.
And it's such a risk.
Such a risk.
Like, it's just so, they're both so risky. It's unbelievable. And like also the whole thing of like, oh, well, I don't know how to write. So I'm just going to put my hand in a sling and be like, will you write for me? And like that just like worked.
Yeah.
So,
like,
okay.
She's in men's clothes. She's never wore men's clothes before. She doesn't know how to move in men's clothes. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just so many things where you're like, I don't know. It's just the ingenuity and how clever, thoughtful and thought out so many things had to be. And also at the same time, how committed to it you have to be, because at any moment something could go sideways.
Yeah, I would say it's a real like Simone Biles level commit to the bit. Like it's the hardest gymnastics move that's ever happened, and you just have to hope that you stick the landing. And like they do. They pull it off. That part to me, I'm just like, wait, you guys really did it. Like, congratulations.
I was about to say planes, trains, and automobiles, but carriages, trains, and automobiles.
And ships.
Ships. Sorry, no automobiles. Carriages, trains, and ships. They figured it out.
They get to Pennsylvania. They make it.
Yeah.
They become part of the abolitionist circuit. And basically, from the moment that they get to freedom, everyone is like, this is PR genius.
This is PR.
Everyone around them is like, we can sell this. I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah.
Like as much as I knew about slavery and also the things that I didn't know, I felt like learning about like how the abolitionist movement was working on day to day, like how these people were coming in and like getting linked up immediately. It's not like they were going on Twitter and being like, bitch, I'm here. Where's the party at? Like, going to the hotel and being like, who can help us?
Right.
And that guy being like, come on,
we having an abolitionist party on Tuesday.
Yeah. They're like, Purvis, come, roll up. We got these two. And like, she comes out in her men clothes and then she's like, just kidding.
Right.
Like, I'm a girl. Like all of that, like from the moment they touch down, everyone is like, yeah, let's get this on stage immediately. I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah. What do you think? Like, first of all, I mean, you're going out and you're having conversations, obviously, with groups of people.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there was some writing about it as well. Clearly, we know that. But I think when you think of that, it's just such an interesting thing. But I also have such a mixed relationship with PR, right? Because I often do it for a living. So I have such a mixed relationship with PR. It's part of what I do for a living. So I'm just curious, like when you think of that, is there any, like, does it feel sticky in any way to you? Like, is there anything about it that feels like, yeah, you're doing a good thing, but also something about it feels a little, I don't know, it feels a little icky, it feels a little opportunist, it feels a little, you know what I mean? You're putting people in danger.
For sure. I think, so this is another part of the book that I would have loved to see contextualized a little bit more. And I don't know if there's like data, but I'm curious to know how many people who escaped from the South then go on the abolitionist circuit. Like, are they doing interviews and being like, your story's good, come with us? Or is it just like, oh, I want to talk about this stuff, or I'm able to talk about this stuff? And I think like that information would have been helpful to me, because I did think it was a little bit crazy that like from the moment they touched down, they're like, okay, tomorrow you guys have to come tell your story. And that also other people were telling their story and then being like, okay, guys, come on out. Like remember? Cause like, that's how the setup was. It's like William Wells Brown would go up there and talk for like 20 minutes. And then he would decide like when to bring them out. And it would be such a surprise because the white slave would come up. Like that's what they called Ellen. And so it felt a little bit like they were being used a little bit like for their story, but it also sounds like they wanted to tell their story. Maybe they didn't know that they wanted to do it before they got there, but there's multiple times where they could have just left and they chose to stay and like be part of this community and like to go on the circuit. So I don't know.
Layers,
it's hard
layers,
to know.
Right?
Yeah.
It's layers. You've been given literally nothing your entire life.
Right.
And the only attention you've ever gotten has been negative, probably, right? With the exception of obviously they loved Ellen, but she was still
so great.
Right.
So
she's so great, but she's still a slave. But it's interesting because like now you're being catered to. You're being, meals are being had in your honor, and conversations are being had, and people are
And
clapping, and money, and people are clapping when you stand there, and they want to hear you speak. And so I imagine it is probably a very conflicting thing for them to be going through that, but also have this thing of, I don't know. I don't know. To me, it just feels like a very layered and confusing thing to be going through. But I can also see how you would lean into it, considering what your past has been.
And like that you feel a responsibility, perhaps. And you feel a
responsibility. Yeah. You know what I mean?
We got out.
There's so many things that I feel like could be actually fighting against each other.
And also, like, one of the things that's so crazy about this book is how many people in this book that I've like learned about in history, like, knew each other or were like related to each other.
Right.
It's like Ellen's half sister.
Yeah.
Is related to Grover Cleveland.
Yeah.
I'm just like, wait, what? And then like Louisa May Alcott's relative is like a Quaker. And then they're on the boat to Liverpool with the guy that Uncle Tom's Cabin was based off of. Like, I'm just like, what?
The Quaker thing is when they got to Barclay. That's when they got to Barclay's house, right? Is that when that whole connection like comes together?
I think so. Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
But it's like and there's just like Frederick Douglass is like hanging out, and like William Lloyd Garrison is just like our friend, like Willie. Like, but that was definitely crazy.
Think of where they were.
Yeah.
And then now all of a sudden you're having conversations with people like this, or in rooms with people like this, or I don't know. I could imagine like what kind of I don't know. I feel like my brain would explode. Like, I don't know how you process the two worlds.
And I don't know how you would make a decision. Like, I think in the book, the author kind of tries to say that Ellen and William tried to tell their own story in their own way, and they didn't always share all the pieces of their life and all of this stuff. But it's hard to know. Like, that's some of the stuff that I just like wish we could know. Like, I just wish we could just ask Ellen, like, what did it feel like to show up and them tell you, like, we want to take you on the circuit? Like, did you consider saying no? Did you consider like just going somewhere else? Like, how, and also like these people are taking care of you, right? Like, you're in these underground railroad places,
meals, places
they're
to
telling
sleep.
they're telling you, we want you to talk. Like, we think your story will really change lives. How do you say no to that?
It's interesting. Also, too, I wonder what, like, this is going to sound crazy. This is such a hot take.
I love things that sound crazy.
Does William Wells Brown kind of feel like Don King a little bit?
I was going to go with a different king. I was going to go with Sean King.
Whoa.
He just is on every circuit. And then, I mean, obviously not fully Sean King, but like he does have a little race peddler energy.
There's just something about it, but it's also like, the reason I said the Don King bit is because it feels exploitative. It feels opportunistic. It feels, like, on one hand, you are giving people a real chance at something in life, but on the other hand, you are also benefiting greatly from their thing.
Yeah. But they do make the point that later on, he's like sent all his money home to his kids. And like when he's like on the streets of like Edinburgh or whatever, there's like another guy and he like gives him his like last shilling. So like,
that's true.
But he does. The thing is, like, when he's on that stage, the way that he's described, it's definitely giving like a little too much showman. It's like, why are you at every event, my guy?
Every event.
Every event. I mean, the other part about that is like there are so many people in this book that I'd never heard of. Like Purvis, he's like one of the first guys, and he's called the father of the Underground Railroad. I was like, if that was a question on Jeopardy and I could win $1 billion, I would just be like, Mr. Harriet Tubman. Like, I would have no clue. I'd be like, Colson Whitehead? I don't know.
Does anybody know Colson? That's amazing. Does anybody know Harriet Tubman's husband's name?
Yeah.
No? Okay. I'll split it with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then,
that's a good
sorry,
one.
I don't have an answer.
I didn't see the Purvis one through me, too. I didn't see that coming at all.
I don't think I knew William Wells Brown either. I did know Henry Box Brown. I had heard of Henry Box Brown.
The
one who was in the box.
Oh, yeah.
I had heard that story.
Robert.
Okay, I'd heard of him.
Robert
and I
Purvis.
knew, Purvis I definitely didn't know. And it was like, then they meet the father of the Underground Railroad. And it was like the end of the chapter. It's like, oh, who's it going to be? And it was like, so-and-so Purvis. I was like,
who?
Ilyon. I was like, think you have the wrong guy. Never heard of him.
I wonder what that was. I mean, he had money. He was black. I wonder.
But he looked white. Remember? He was like super passing.
Yeah, he was super passing. I wonder if it's because like, maybe I missed this in the read, but like, was it because he had like the financial means to help? Like, what was his qualification as being the father?
I think he was very connected. My sense was that like he knew everybody. And so he was able to be like, okay, you can go be with these people and you can go be with these people. She didn't, from my read, I don't remember her saying why he was the father, just that like, that's what they called him.
Yeah.
But it might have been like the kind of thing where it's like, oh, he's the mayor of Los Angeles. And you're he just knows everybody.
He knows everybody. Yeah.
He's just like the center of the thing. Okay. We're sort of running out of time, but there's two things that I really want to talk about that are sort of more like thematic things from the book. One is that from the very beginning of this book, we are told not only is this a story of two people who escape slavery, who are so ingenious and smart, but also that this is a great love story. And I'm curious how you feel about this book being framed as a great love story. Did you need that? Did you care if they were in love?
No, I don't think I cared. I think in some ways, it not being framed that way, it's interesting. Okay, so I think this being a great love story, if you would want to call it that, I don't know that I would necessarily think that, but like if you wanted to call it a great love story, I could understand that because of the commitment that these two people are making to each other, and they're going to do this thing together, and they were able to do it together. Obviously, right. She may have been stepping out on the back end. We don't know. There's questions, but. Also, he may have been stepping out on the back end. They both could have got to the UK and been like, "Hey, we out here. Yeah, we out here. We lived through a lot, so we gonna get it in." But them being in love didn't process through my mind as I was reading this book. Like, it didn't change anything for me. It didn't make everything. The stakes are still there. The freedom is still there. The journey is still there, and maybe that's why they stayed in it. Maybe. Because to your point, they could have walked away at any point in time, maybe. So maybe that's why they stayed in it. But I don't know that like framing it that way necessarily did anything for me.
I just didn't think they needed it. I also don't know that we know that they really loved each other. Like it felt like the Hollywood version of it where it's like, and they loved each other. Like they could have loved each other. They could have loved each other at one point and then just become partners. They could have just been married people who saw an opportunity and loved working, like enjoyed being around each other and working with each other. Like, I don't know. There's so much personal stuff that we don't know. And the fact that like, it's like they're in love. I'm like, okay, but who cares? Like, I don't know. For some reason, that really like was like a tiny thing. Every time it would come up, I would just be like, okay, whatever. Like,
I also feel like they could have got up north and been like, oh, this is what it's like outside? Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know what I mean? Okay. You know what I mean? Like, okay, this is what, he's cute. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they could have got outside and, they were in a very different situation.
Yes.
When they got together to when they were now on the other side of freedom. And then obviously, going across the Atlantic and getting to the UK as well. Like the circumstance changed quite a bit. So not to say that they weren't in love, obviously, but like they now had opportunity to look at life in a different way.
Yeah. And like, I just think that the love part, whether they were or not, is super irrelevant to the story to me. Like it doesn't, I'm not like, oh, I'm rooting for you more because you love each other. Like if they had, I think that they have love for one another, like you might for a best friend. They were a partnership, but like this idea that they also had to have a great love story. I'm like, nothing in here proves that they had a great love story except for that they pulled off this incredible thing. We started here and I sort of want to end here, which is like, why do you think this story has not withstood the test of time? Why did it disappear? Why didn't it stay?
I don't know. This is so crazy to me because I'm like, is there a world in which like clearly like someone, decision makers rather, at the state education level across many states, like don't want kids to know about successful attempts at escapes? You know what I mean? I don't know. I still can't really clock that one. I still don't understand why we wouldn't know a story like this. I mean, I guess it's, by the way, I mean, you're talking about scrubbing thousands of stories.
Right. Right.
Thousands and thousands. I mean, we know, for example, like, Oklahoma, or what became Oklahoma, was filled with escaped, formerly enslaved people, right? So like, no, but we don't know any of those stories either. So yeah, I mean, listen, history is, to this point, has been written by folks who do not come from slaves. And I think, you look at states like, Florida, and like how they're changing how they're going to teach around slavery. And, it's like, you're now being told that like slaves learned useful skills. And listen, he was a cabinet maker, and he made money being a cabinet maker, but also he was so many other things.
Right. And like, had he been able to choose, maybe he would have chosen something completely different for his life.
Wildly different. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why this story hasn't stood the test of time, because it has all the elements of like something that would, including that it was documented contemporaneously.
Very well, yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't exactly know. I think part of it is that like the level of trickery is maybe just like too good and too successful. And so people who were in charge, the whites, did not want to. And I think also because Ellen is a complicated figure. It's easier to be like Harriet Tubman, Black woman, goes back and forth to slavery. But it's harder to be like Ellen, woman who looks white, because her dad raped her mom, who he owned. And so she was able, like, it puts that violence front and center. Right. And so I wonder if that's part of the reason that this story doesn't stand the test of time, because as appealing as it was in the time, Ellen, it's complicated, right? It's very like, okay, we have to talk about how this was possible. And the way that it was possible was because of the brutalities that are inherent in chattel slavery and the things that were allowed and accepted. And even not just in schools, but just in general, I think it was hard for people's brains to compute that that this is a Black woman because you all said so, because of the one drop rule, even though by all visual cue, like it basically says race is made up. And if you put that front and center, you have to start being like, okay, so how is she Black? Like, how is she white? So I wonder if that was also part of it. It's like, there's a lot of trickery, but at the heart of it, this is a story about how fallible race is. Yeah. Okay, last thing. Title and cover. Master, slave, husband, wife. And then the cover is sort of green to yellow, and it's got pictures of them on the cover. What did you think of both of these things?
Yeah, I really liked the cover. I'm not sure why. I think I liked the cover because I was fully thrown by her picture, because I was like, did he marry a white woman? Like, I was actually confused a little bit. Like, you know what I mean? I think I was actually confused a little bit. So I think I was like, oh, this is a story about like two people who don't look like I think I was thinking it was something different. Title. Interesting. It jumps at you. It grabs you.
It does.
They are all of those things.
Yes. So you're giving it a solid grade.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you my grades. Title, I love the title. I hate how many times and how the title showed up in the book. It would be like, and then they were no longer master slave. They were now only husband wife. I'm like, okay, goodbye. I hate this. The title is great, but it shows up 9 times in the book in those ways, including chapter headings. One is master slave, and then like a few chapters later it's husband wife, and I was just like, okay, we get it. The cover I really like, but I almost wish their pictures weren't on the cover.
Interesting.
I just really like the like art that's the background, and I love the fonts and everything, but
I love the font. I love that steamboat in the corner.
Yeah, I do too. But I also like a version of the cover that just has their faces. I think I could like, but for some reason, like the way that the faces are sort of like floating in like a no man's land on the cover is just like a little weird to me.
That's fair.
Like I'm just like,
that's fair.
What are these disembodied heads?
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah.
But I don't mind the pictures. I wish they were more incorporated somehow. But I do I think it's a pretty book, and it caught my eye when it first came out, even though I didn't read it until now. It was on my list of books to read for the last year and a half because I was like, ooh, I'm interested. Okay, this was great. Is there anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
No, I'm good. This was awesome. This was great.
Okay, this was great. Everybody, if you have not,
I have one question. We didn't ask this one question. Did you love the book?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. I enjoyed it a lot. I wouldn't say that I loved it. I don't know that I was freaking out to read it or staying up all night to read it, but I learned a lot. It made me think a lot. I was very impressed with how well it was written and how narrative it was. So I definitely would say it's a 5-star read for me, but I don't know that I had the emotional feeling of I love this book, which I do get sometimes with these intense narrative nonfictions. How about you?
It's a 5-star for me for sure. I think the same thing. I wasn't I can't put this down, but I think for me it was I think it was the education, to be quite honest. I think it was the learning of something where I'm oh, I know what it is. And then I'm oh, I have no idea what it is. Or I only know a fraction of what it is. So I think it was that for me where I was it's all the stuff that we talked about up front. It's the everyday stuff that you're now learning about. And I guess if you've been to NAMAC, you kind of learn some of that stuff. Yeah. Because you see all the artifacts and you get a bit of an understanding of what day-to-day life was like for some slaves, but or enslaved people rather. But I would give it a 5.
I've never heard someone say NAMAC. I know what you're talking about, the African American History Museum in DC. I've never heard it called that. I was NAMAC. And then I was oh, of course. I have been. And you do get a lot of this stuff. But I think the thing that is the most impressive about this book is how much information is in it for a person like me who's I feel I know about this. Yeah. I felt I learned so much. And it made me want to read more books of the time period for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of books of the time period, another book that is of this exact same time period is called Did Everyone Have an Imaginary Friend or Just Me? It's about Jay Ellis. No, just kidding. It's about a totally different time period. But if you haven't read it yet, you must go out and get it. It is Jay's debut book. It is about his life. It is a memoir about his childhood. Very different energy. This is a good pairing because you might need something light and fun and just nostalgic, because that book is Nostalgia 101 or not 101, Nostalgia on 100 is what I should say. And you can get the book now. It is out in the world now. You can also, if you haven't yet, still get Master, Slave, Husband, Wife, but hurry up and catch up, people. And listen to the end of today's episode to find out what our September book club pick will be. Jay, thank you so much for doing this. This was really a treat.
No, thank you for having me. This was exciting. This was fun.
Yay. And everyone else, we will see you in the stacks. All right, y'all, that does it for us today. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you again to Jay Ellis for being my guest. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to Andrea Pura and to Carla Bruce Eddings for helping to make this conversation possible. All right. Now what you've all been waiting for. Time to announce our September book club pick. It is Toni Morrison month. We are going to be reading Jazz. Yes. It is time for another Toni title, and it's another classic. Jazz is set in 1926, and it's all about jilted love, obsession, self-discovery, maybe even a little murder. You'll have to listen to our September 4th episode to find out who our guest will be for our September 25th discussion of Jazz. If you love this show and you want inside access to it, head to patreon.com/thestacks to join the Stacks Pack. And you can check out my newsletter at tracythomas.substack.com. Make sure you're subscribed to the Stacks wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you're listening through Apple Podcasts or Spotify, be sure to leave us a rating and a review. For more from the Stacks, follow us on social media at The Stacks Pod on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok, and at The Stacks Pod _ on Twitter. And you can check out the website at thestackspodcast.com. This episode of The Stacks was edited by Christian Duenas with production assistance from Lauren Tyree and Megan Caballero. Our graphic designer is Robin McCrite, and our theme music is from Tegirigis. The Stacks is created and produced by me, Tracy Thomas.